You found the Live Local Marketing Podcast, where business owners share their knowledge about what's working in the market today. No fluff, just their experiences and stories from people who are making it happen. And if authentic, practical marketing resonates with you, be sure to visit livelocalwarmmarketing.com and learn to grow your business on warm marketing referrals. Now, on to the show. And today we have Lorraine Ball, who's an entrepreneur, author, speaker, and the voice behind More Than a Few Words. She's a marketing podcast that brings big ideas down to earth with practical tips, a dash of humor, and a whole lot of real older experience. I should know. I was also on the podcast. And then from the days back in our corporate boardrooms to running her own business, Lorraine has seen what works and, more importantly, what doesn't. Her style is smart, approachable, and straight to the point, giving clients the insight and inspiration they need to take action. Lorraine, thanks for joining us today.
Billy, it's so nice to be sitting in your guest chair. I really enjoy it.
We swapped out today. That's right.
Yeah. No, I'm enjoying it.
Now I can get to grill you. You grilled me the first time. Now we get to swap it.
Absolutely.
All right. A quick review of the process, just in case you're just tuning in. She has 2 minutes to talk about the 7 different topics. If she goes a little over, not a big deal. I want to be sure I get as much knowledge from her as possible. If we're a little under, I always have follow-up questions because I'm always asking for more. And then at the very end, she'll talk about her podcast and then how to get on it or get more information or be a part of it. Okay. All set?
Let's do this.
Okay, here we go. The first one is one of my favorite ones. Talk about a time where you had a loss that turned into a win.
So this was one of my favorites. I had been chasing a particular customer or prospect for a while, and I finally got to sit down with him, and we were quoting his website. And the more I looked at it, the more I realized this was an elephant and it was going to crush us. And so instead of taking the project, I went back to him and I said, look, I'm really sorry, but we are not the right company for you. We can't do this. But doing that whole local marketing thing, I said, I have got a friend in the community and they build bigger, more sophisticated websites than we do. And so I trust him. I love him. I know his stuff. If you like me, you're going to like him. And I think you should work with him. And so I waved goodbye to that customer, and he got a great website from my friend, and I was thrilled. But the best thing that happened was about 2 years later, because my friend is a fabulous web designer, but they are not a content shop. And sure enough, when this guy was ready for the content marketing piece, my phone rang. And so they became a very long-time customer, both because he respected what I did, but he also respected how I treated him and how honest I was about the original project just not being a fit for us. And I think that's a really hard thing for a lot of entrepreneurs to do, but sometimes you got to say no to get the win.
And that's tough. So bigger fish than you can handle. Are there any other scenarios like where people should say no? Like, is there just too big, or is there other scenarios?
Well, I think there's also the too small. I think on both sides of the equation, there are clients that really are too small, that can't afford what you're doing, that want you to take features out of your offering to kind of dumb it down so they can afford it. And one of two things happens. You end up not doing your best work, or you end up giving them all the services you know they need and not getting paid for it. So clients that are too small for you are a lose-lose. And either I developed training classes and do-it-yourself programs for those really small clients, or find partners in the community like I did on either side of the equation.
That's great.
And know where you play. And when it's not in that sweet spot, give it up.
That is amazing advice. That is a perfect way to start this. This is great. All right. So, and with all your experience, all the things you've done and learned, what is your best habit?
This is going to sound a little woo-woo, but it's not. My best habit is taking 15 minutes in the morning to journal. I write every day, and I write longhand. And I know that sounds really old school, but there is a physical, there's something that's different about typing than writing. And Some days I go on for pages, and some days I have half a page. Some
Mhm.
days it's just me railing against the
Mhm.
world. And some days it's me brainstorming or talking about a meeting I'm going to have or just doing a quick to-do list. But that discipline, I keep the notebook by my bed, and I don't even get out of bed. I don't even brush my teeth. I pick up the pen and I just write for a few minutes every day. And it has really helped me slow down a little bit,
That's good.
really think about what am I going to do? What do I have to do today? And how am I feeling about it? And a lot of times that venting prevents me from venting all over someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it helps me get clarity on how do I approach that person because they're making me crazy. And I got to work around this, you know.
Yep.
Um, I ran a digital agency for 19 years. I had employees, and some days I loved them, and some days I wanted to take them out back and shoot them. And so that, that journaling helped because I've never been
Yeah.
convicted of shooting anybody.
Nice. Does that prime you to also throughout the day know when to take a few minute break? You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah, I think it does. And it also, I am a better, it's incredibly funny that I have made a living over the years writing because I am not a natural writer. And I have found that when I've drifted away from the journaling, my writing suffers. And so it
Got it.
also just helps me get back into that
Hmm.
creative mindset and just that written content format, which, yes, videos are really important, but there is still a place for written
Yeah.
content in marketing. And so that skill's
Yep.
handy.
That is really awesome. That's wonderful. All right. So now that you've been doing this for 19 years, you have experience, you've taken on big and medium-sized companies. What things in your system do you still do hands-on, and what things do you pass off to a team or a VA? A quick break before we get to that next answer, because I know that answer is going to be brilliant, which is why I chose this moment to interrupt. If you love what you're seeing and you want to run your business off of warm marketing and referrals, visit our website, livelocalwarmmarketing.com. It's got valuable resources, office hours, memberships, the book, an array of resources to help you get rid of cold calls, cold leads, door knocking, and run a business you can be proud of through referrals and warm marketing. Now, back to the show.
So I sold the agency a few years ago, and so now I'm just doing the podcast. But let's drop
Go
back
ahead.
to that
Yeah,
point.
please.
By the time I was really about 10 years in, um, I had passed off everything except for sales and
Okay.
strategy. Um, at that point, um, I could write blog posts, but I hired people who were better writers than I was.
Yeah, makes sense.
I could create branding kits and logo design, but I hired designers who were way better at it. And so my customers got the benefit. I spent most of my time either developing front end strategies, working with the clients. I also did something, I would always bring one of my team on every strategy conversation so that after people were with me for a few years, they got good at the strategy too.
Trained them.
So
Yeah.
I could even step back from strategy on a lot of my smaller clients or on the clients that we had had for years and years and really focus much more of my time on sales proposals, getting out in the community, doing things that made us more visible, and really relied on my team to do everything else. And
Yeah.
it was a tough transition at first, but it was really nice once I figured out it worked.
So let's do the pivot. Let's do the podcasting part too. So you're cranking out a ton of podcasts.
Mhm.
Let's ask that same question. What parts of the podcast do you still handle, and what parts do you pass off?
So at this point, I am doing almost all of it because
Wow.
I have a system. Because
Yeah.
I've been doing this. The podcast is 16 years old, so I record. The episodes are short. Our conversation
Yep.
was 11 minutes maybe.
Yep. Yep.
I do a light edit. I can do a 10-minute podcast in about 15 minutes of editing. I use tools like Opus Pro
Yep.
to do my
Clip Note.
transcript, to
Yep.
to create all my shorts. I use scheduling tools. I have templates. So, and the beautiful thing is that a lot of those systems, my designers and my team taught me when I was running the agency, and all I did was record the episodes. So when I stepped back and this was what I was doing, I knew how to use the templates. I knew how to create new ones. Yeah, it is, if you're going to do it all yourself, then I think you have to have good systems in place.
Yeah.
And if I get busy again, I probably will outsource the editing.
Editing. Yeah, that seems to be the go-to. Yeah. So, all right. So let's take a perspective of somebody who's thinking about using that podcast for their marketing or part of their marketing. What is some of the best advice you give to them as they're thinking about this journey?
Okay. Number one, if you think you're going to make $1 million podcasting, don't do it.
That's a great start.
Number two, think about what you really want from the podcast. When I started the podcast, I was running a marketing company. The podcast was part of our marketing promotion. It was to establish me as a subject matter expert, to connect me to other subject matter experts. And when I sold the agency, I kind of went through a little bit of what is it now? And, so I had to kind of go back and think again, why am I doing it and how does it fit? And it does, because I shifted my focus to marketing companies. And so all the shows are about marketing. It's marketing tips. And so my clients are marketing companies. The other thing, if you're thinking about this, get half a dozen episodes in the can before you launch and tell the world. Make sure you know what you're getting into. Make sure you understand what it takes before you commit to a daily or a weekly schedule. Maybe you've got a great message, but maybe you only need to release one episode a month, And I think that's the mistake. I mean, when you look at the statistics, there are, 4 million podcasts worldwide. Only 380,000 of them are active right now.
Yeah.
If you have more than 50 episodes, you're in the top 5% of all podcasters.
So it doesn't take, consistency.
Yeah.
This day and age, what types of things are the best use of AI for you, if any?
I do love AI. I love and hate AI. I worked with AI to get clear on my voice. Not that I needed the clarity, I needed it to have the clarity. So I gave it samples of my writing, and I said, this is who I am, this is how I speak. And I was stunned with how well it came back and how clear it was. So now I give it a transcript from a podcast. I don't like it to create original content. I don't give it and say, hey, write me an article on this. No, that's bad. It comes out very generic. It comes out very bro speaky. It's not good. But if I give it the transcript of a conversation, the details are already there. And all I'm asking it to do is summarize it, do the pull quotes. It does all of my episode summaries. And then I overlay that and say, okay, now I want you to make sure you're writing this in my voice. So it's me talking about the episode. It's not some highbrow generic person. Yeah. I like that. I love AI for video, for taking an episode like this and coming up with snippets. Again, my favorite uses for AI are my original content. You edit, polish, summarize, help me find the best. I also like it, though, for travel and recipe planning.
That's awesome.
It's
That's awesome.
fabulous for travel planning.
Yeah.
And I'm working on a new book that's going to be a summary of my What Went Wrong episodes. And so I gave it links to all the episodes, and I said, organize this into chapters.
Holy cow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It read all the summaries, and it gave. So, but again, my content.
Yeah.
Overlay your editing.
Okay. That's awesome. A quick side hack is I'll use it for recipes too. What I'll sometimes do, like Friday nights, I'll take a picture of like the my bottles of whiskey or whatever I've got laying around. I'm like, give me some old fashioned recipes. And you can take that picture and it says, here's 5 or 6 different recipes for you. I'm like, thank you. Let's take all the thinking out of that. So that's pretty fun too.
Yes. Yeah. My husband does that. He's got a whole list. You would like him. He's got a whole list of these old fashions that he's made with all sorts of different flavors, orange bitters. So it tastes like vanilla bitters. So it tastes like a dreamsicle. Yeah.
All right. Hang out with your husband. We need to have some drinking contest.
Oh yeah.
Maybe a taste testing thing. So goal setting. Let's talk about goal setting. It has shifted from the marketing days now to the podcast days. So the podcasting days, how are you setting your goals? How are you following? How do you keep yourself motivated and so forth?
So the dreaded download numbers can just wear you out. I mean, if you're going to sell ads, then you need to hit certain download numbers, and that's the reality. My podcast isn't about selling ads, so I don't have to worry about it, because if you put a 1-minute ad in a 10-minute episode, it just completely breaks the flow.
Yeah.
For me, it is the conversations. I have had more fun. And so the goal of my podcast is I want to continue to have interesting conversations. I want to, I do look at, in general, how big is the community growing? Am I growing people on LinkedIn who are engaging and interacting with the content? You can game the system if you want to spend a little money on advertising, and if that makes you feel good, to get X number of followers or X number of downloads. I much prefer and get way more joy when I run into somebody or I'm talking to someone and they're like, oh my God, I just heard your latest episode. I loved that, and so that's hard, because I'm in a place where I have the luxury of being able to say, I'm just doing it for those things. Yeah. If you're doing it earlier in your career and it's part of your business, and when it was part of my business, I was looking at, could I send those episodes along with a proposal? Hey, we're going to do content marketing. I think you'll enjoy this short conversation with this expert. And it was part of my sales process.
That makes way more sense. And that's excellent. So the next one's going to be tougher. So you're in a position now too, where it's retirement and you're doing it for fun. So I'm not going to ask you what you do for burnout, because you're doing it. Mm-hmm. So let me shift it. The question is going to be what kind of advice do you give folks that were in your marketing days where they're doing a bunch of different things and they're trying to get the podcast in, and they're trying to, how can they, what advice would you give them to avoid the burnout?
Well, and you know what? And even now, because yes, I'm quote retired. Do not ask me how many clients I have and how many projects I have, and everybody always is like, so Lorraine, you're retired, right? My husband just laughs and says, yeah, not really. But anyway, but I think one of the things that you can do is, and it sounds crazy, is work ahead on certain things. So, and even I do this with the podcast, because see, now I'm doing it because I like to travel and I don't want to have to worry about while I'm gone, but I work ahead. Pick one thing that you're going to do and get way out ahead. And then you don't have to think about it for 2 or 3 weeks. And it gives you an opportunity to catch your breath. And so then you pick some other project and you do that. And you can even do that on a week-by-week basis with good time blocking. And that's one of the things that I do. I'm working with one of my clients' team with, is really teaching them how to effectively time block, manage their schedules, so that, because, they were running in circles and they'd have this giant to-do list. And I finally taught them hopefully I can say this, to take all the piddly shit and put
Okay.
it on a list and say, I'm going to deal with that Wednesday
Okay.
from 1 to 3. And or I'm going to deal with that every morning from 8
Yeah.
to 9. And one of the things that freed them up to do is then work on the big things that were satisfying, that they could really chunk out.
Mm.
And burnout is often not the big things. It's all the little nagging things.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And if you have a process for managing that, and you're like, okay, I will get that to you tomorrow at 10. And just turn off your email when you're doing your time block. Turn off your phone. The world won't end for an hour. It won't. And nobody's going to die from lack of marketing. You know, so I think that those are the things that when I work with other agencies and just other business owners, getting them to kind of get into that routine to take a little bit of control.
That's amazing. All right, awesome. All right, so all the knowledge, all the experience, so much to be learned from you and all these different stories. And then I tell people you have a newsletter too. I'm on the newsletter. I read them all. Like you had one this morning and talking about the playing the long game in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So much good stuff. So I'm sure you'll talk about that in a second too. But just sit back and just all the experience, just soak it all in. Lorraine's got so many stories, so much experience. You just got to enjoy it. So you're gonna do the outro. You're gonna talk about your podcast, and you're going to where people can get a hold of you.
Okay, so More Than a Few Words. It is a marketing conversation, and you can find it at morethanafewwords.com, along with pretty much every podcast platform. But also on More Than a Few Words, you can find sign up for my newsletter. It's once a week. It's short, just like my podcasts. I don't really believe in wearing out my welcome. I really feel like I want to be able to earn the right to drop back into your mailbox again. And you'll also find resources, worksheets, white papers, links to my book, which is a collection of essays by some of my guests. So lots of fun stuff. And if you have a question, you can drop me a question or record a quick message. I have SpeakPipe on my contact form. You can just drop me a note with an idea or a question, and who knows, might even end up in an episode.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you for sharing all of your knowledge here today. We appreciate you and your time, and I look forward to more and more of those newsletters.
Thanks, Billy.